everyone, welcome to my channel if you are new, or welcome back if you are a returning subscriber. My name is Ellie and I recently completed Disney's Cultural Representative program. That's basically a program where you get to live and work in Walt Disney World for a whole year. I had a lot of people asking me a lot of questions about the process and how to get a job out there, so I've basically made a whole series of every single part of the process. I'm now actually up to the penultimate video in the series, which is very sad. It's actually going to be a CRP Q&A answering all of your questions that I asked over on my Instagram a couple of weeks ago. So thank you so much if you sent a question in. I would like to quickly say that I'm not going to be answering all of the questions because I have answered a lot of the questions before in previous Q&As. I've done 2 before, so I will make sure I put both of them in the link below, or I'll put them here. Why not? Let's get started, let's crack on. The first question is, any favorite stories from the program? One of my favorite stories actually was a day when me and Daniel were in Animal Kingdom and we got a magical moment to basically do half of the Wild Africa trek. So we went into a safari truck by ourselves with 2 class members that work on Kilimanjaro Safari, and they gave us basically a private safari tour, and that was one of the best moments of my program, getting to get a lot closer to the animals and learn a lot of facts that you wouldn't particularly learn when you were on the main safari. Next question is, how long do you spend on podium before you go into service? It basically varies. It depends on what time of year you went out. I went out in June and I spent 3 months on podium, whereas people that went out in September spent 6 months on podium. So it depends on the time of year basically. Where did you visit, and is there anywhere you regret not visiting? I went to New York at Christmas time, Disneyland like LA in March. In January, me and the girls, we went to Philadelphia, and then we got a train over to Washington DC. I absolutely loved it there. That was amazing. And Mexico. I did manage to visit a lot of the places that I did want to visit, but there was a lot of places I didn't get to visit as well, like Boston, Chicago, Hawaii. The list goes on. What would you say are the most important attributes to work for Disney? I would say you have to be positive, happy, smiling, confident. You have to be able to speak to guests, be charismatic, get along well with your peers, be open to new things and innovation. Yeah, and just have a great time and have fun in what you do. Do Disney give you passes, or do you have to pay for them? Yes, Disney give you your own main gate, and then you get 3 guest passes, so you can get 3 guests into the park as well in case your family visit you. Which housing complex did you stay in? I stayed at Chatham Square and I loved it. Are you glad you did food and beverage over merchandise, and why? Yes, I am glad I did food and beverage over merchandise for many reasons. I obviously have a lot of experience in merchandise, not as much in food and beverage, only about 9 months. So it was an amazing learning curve for me to be able to learn all these amazing new skills. It really pushed me, which was great. I just loved it. I love food and beverage so much. I love that you get to spend a large amount of time with your guests. You can get to know them, really have time to talk. I loved it. I loved it so much. Is merchandise harder to get into than food and beverage, and can you apply to both? So they take on less people in merchandise compared to food and beverage. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily harder, but there's more of a chance that if you pick merchandise, you're probably going to be put in food and beverage, because they take on maybe, let's say, if there's an arrival group of 5, 4 of them are going to be food and beverage and 1 will be merchandise. Not an actual statistic, but that's like the easiest way for me to explain it. So when you first apply for the CRP, when you first send in that application, you don't put down a preference if you want to apply for food and beverage or merchandise. You basically apply to the CRP as a whole. When you have that final Disney interview, you then say, I would like to put down my preference as food and beverage. You're not applying to a specific section, it's just a preference. They can't guarantee you'll get your preference. It's just a good way for them to maybe to divide people up a little bit. But even if you have a load of food and beverage experience, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be in food and beverage. You might be surprised and put in merchandise. You never know. Are there multiple locations for food and beverage in the UK pavilion or just the Rose and Crown? When you're on podium, you do work in the chippy, in the fish and chip shop, and then you move into the kitchen and work into the Rose and Crown. So yes, there is 2 locations, but you do the fish and chip shop first and then move into the restaurant. This one I'm gonna have to read off my book because it's quite long. Should I apply for the CRP at 18, considering it's my dream to work for Disney, even though I'm not sure whether I want to go to uni? I basically did the exact same thing. I first applied for the CRP when I was 18. When I was in 6th form, I really wasn't sure if I wanted to go to university or not. There was a lot of pressure to go, but I loved all of my A-level subjects. I couldn't decide what I wanted to study, what was best for me to study, what I could actually get a career out of. So I just basically decided not to apply to university. I'm not saying that you should do that. But the thing is, if you go to university at 18 and do the 3 years, come out at 21, you can easily do the CRP after then, and that's what majority of the people did that I was on my program with. They'd done a summer program during their university years to get a feel for it, and then afterwards they applied for the CRP. They basically were applying for it during their final year of uni, so then they could basically go straight out onto the program, which I think is a really nice way to do it. I don't think there's any right or wrong answer, only you know what you want and what's best for you. I definitely don't think there's any harm in applying. You might get rejected, so then that way you know that you've already had one application in and you can learn from that and build on that. Whereas if you've waited until the end of uni to apply and then get rejected, then it might become an extremely long process for you. Did you have a bucket list before you went on the CRP? Yes, I did. That's definitely a really good thing to do before your program. Even silly things like going to be our guest, or meeting a specific character, or getting to see Goodnight Kiss, or staying to the park until you're the last guest there. It was really nice to look back, and I love looking back on it now to be like, oh yeah, I forgot I never did that. Do you still stay in contact with everyone from your program? So obviously I don't stay in contact with everyone, that would be really difficult, but I am friends with pretty much everyone on Facebook and Instagram, so I do get to see what everyone is up to, which is lovely. Obviously my closest friends I do stay in touch with. We FaceTime, we message all the time, me and the girls, we message every day, which I think is really great. You do really make some amazing friends, and friends for life, I really do think so. Are there any other theme parks you visited apart from Disney and Universal? No, actually, I nearly went to SeaWorld one day, but I didn't get around to it. And looking back at people's pictures, I really want to go to Busch Gardens. How much preparation did you put into your interviews, and how prepared did you feel during them? I put a lot of preparation into my application, but not a huge amount into my interview. I basically tried to just think about some of the questions that they would ask me. I went to some of my current managers and said, like, can you do like a fake interview with me to see how I would feel? I'd also get my dad to do that as well, which is really helpful, just to find out what you'd say on the spot. I know there is a lot of videos out there of people talking about their interview process, of what people asked and stuff. So if you are interested in knowing specifically what they asked, those videos are out there. But sometimes I think it's more important to not be as prepared, if that makes sense. Obviously, I'm not encouraging you to go in there not prepared at all, but sometimes I think it's really good to think about questions on the spot and what they actually really mean to you. Advice for someone who has anxiety about the interview process. Everybody around you is in the same boat. Everyone is feeling the same way, and on my final interview, actually on both of my interview days, I was in such a big group of people and everyone's talking, getting to know each other. You have to remember that although these people are your competition, a lot of them might be your fellow cast members. So it's really important that you do get to know them. At the end of the day, I met some of my closest friends during the interview process, which is crazy. Yeah, so just talk to people, stay calm, keep texting your family if that makes you feel a lot better, eat something, stay hydrated. It's basically a normal interview process. It's just like a job interview. How much time off do you get? So you basically, the more you work, the more paid holiday you accrue. You have to work a minimum of 32 hours a week to not violate your visa. In the general working week, you'll work 32 hours and have 2 days off. You always have your 2 days off in a row, which is really nice because it feels like a weekend. But you can swap shifts, get rid of shifts, get more shifts, so you can work over the 32 hours. I always like to basically gain a shift, so I would work longer on one day and then have an extra day off. It's always a great way to do it. What was the most important part of the CRP to you? Obviously, getting to work at Walt Disney World is such a tremendous privilege. I've been watching things like the Imagineering story, and it's been so cool to see it and be like, hey, I was actually a part of that, which is really cool. Obviously, the cultural representative program is about representing your culture and sharing where you're from with people from all around the world, and that is the whole thing about the World Showcase. It's for people to come together from all around the world as one. Once you do it, you realize how proud you are to show where you're from. So yeah, that became a big thing as well. What do you feel you gained from this experience? I feel like I became more confident. I had to grow up, amazing friends. I feel like at work at times you're really pushed, which is great. I feel like I was really like pushing myself because it can be difficult, especially during busy periods like Christmas, and yeah, it felt really good to do that. How long were your shifts? So they were generally about 5 hours long. Was the bus from housing free? Yes, it was. What was the typical age range? Was everyone really young? I'd say the age range is about 22 to 32. Everyone is generally around 24, 25, 26. There isn't a lot of people like wee babies. I was 19 at the time and I was the youngest person there, and I was the youngest for a majority of my program. Yeah, majority people are mid-20s. How prepared did you feel with packing and moving? I feel like I was very prepared with packing. I had a list, I've watched hundreds of videos, I knew exactly what I needed to take. I was buying stuff every week, I was packing from really far in advance, I was quite prepared. But with moving, I don't think I'd actually really thought about it. I think I was just so excited. Should I personalize my CV or should it be strictly professional? Obviously you are applying for an actual job at the end of the day, so to an extent it should be professional, but that doesn't mean it should be completely boring. Obviously it's your CV. If you think it's a good reflection of yourself, then definitely go for it. When do they announce the date for applications? If you are from the UK, they open applications once in the summertime. It's usually about July. Go on yummyjobs.com and all of the information will be on there. Definitely follow them on Instagram as well. I think it's just at yummyjobs. They post a lot of updates on there as well, so it's definitely a good place to stay up to date. How do staycations work as a cast member? So basically you get really good discount as a cast member on hotels, which is really great if you have family visiting or friends coming over, but it's also a really great way to just go and spend a night in a hotel for really cheap, because then you can sleep in a really big comfy double Disney bed. And it sounds ridiculous, but yeah, absolute highlight. That's pretty much it. You get a really good discount. You just, yeah, go have a great time. Pretend you're on vacation. Did you ever make any big mistakes on the job? In general, I'm quite a clumsy person. I remember dropping a whole plate of fish and chips because I kicked the door too hard and it whacked back on me, and I dropped the whole plate, cracked in half. Tartar sauce up the walls, it was crazy. But that happens. Every single person drops stuff, makes mistakes, forgets things. It happens, it's normal. When you're a server, you are balancing 5, maybe 6 tables at one time, so you are thinking about a lot of things at once. So it does happen, but I never made any crazy mistakes. Just dropping things and forgetting about things, pretty much. God, that makes me sound awful. I wasn't bad, I promise. Would you recommend the CRP to future generations? Absolutely. I cannot recommend the program enough. Everyone I tell, I say, you need to do this program if you can, because it was the most fantastic year of my life, and I think if you can experience it, you absolutely should. Can you have tattoos on the program? I get a lot of people ask me about the tattoo situation. With Disney Look, you generally can't have tattoos on show. Obviously, the girls and boys costume, I will insert a picture here so you can have a look. A lot of your skin is on show, so it's really difficult to say if you can have tattoos here and stuff. Generally, they say no, but on my program, I worked with a lot of people that did have tattoos in like their neck. I worked with a guy that had a full sleeve, ankles and stuff. So I honestly can't specifically say. I feel like there is a very difficult blurred line whether yes or no. I know in merchandise you can wear undergarments and stuff to cover the tattoos, so maybe you would just have to work in merchandise. If you are thinking about applying to the CRP and have tattoos in really visible areas, then I would definitely recommend emailing Yummy Jobs. They will be the ones to be able to give you the best recommendation on what to do. Are you able to save much money? If you are in food and beverage and you happen to go into service, then yes, because you are in a tipped role, and generally in America the tipping culture is 18 to 20%. So yeah, you definitely can make a considerable amount of money. Can you pick as many extra shifts as you want? To an extent, yes. It's just like here in the UK, you can't work over a specific amount of hours, but you can continue to pick up extra shifts to help out other people and swap shifts, extend shifts, etc, etc. And the final question is, can you request a specific time/month to go? No, you cannot. One thing you can say at your Disney interview is, say they were sending people out from May, you can say that I'm available from August. So you can kind of say I'm available from this day, but you can't say I want to go out November 12th and that's the date that you'll get. That pretty much concludes all of the questions. So thank you if you did send a question in. I will make sure to put the other 2 Q&As down here so you're able to watch those as well in case your question was asked but I didn't answer it. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe. Also follow me over on Instagram. It's just going to be @EllieBrown, and I will see you guys next week.